climb right up.
Welcome to Keith Brace's In the Clubhouse, my irreverent look at rugby union round Britain, round Birmingham, round the globe and round me aunties. Not that she plays rugby much. In fact, have I got any aunties left?
Haven't you?
I think I have. I've got an Auntie Edna in Redditch.
Well, I haven't got any aunties left, no.
No. Oh, as we learned last week, Chris. Not proper ones. You've got make-believe aunties.
In the olden days, you know,
everybody was your auntie who lived down the street. Yes, I've got an Auntie Edna in Redditch who's 86, I think, my dad's youngest sister. So, good evening to you, Auntie Edna. I hope you're well. I know you were not very well recently, but I hope you're fighting fit nowadays. Now, I want to talk about the rugby, of course, which is what we're here for. Mm-hmm. Friday night's game saw the battered and beleaguered London Welsh visit Kingsholm, the home of Gloucester and the Shed. It's not the Chelsea Shed, Chris, it's the Gloucester Shed.
Gloucester.
Much inbreeding down in the Morton in the Marsh around those parts, but we shouldn't say that really, should we? But the Welsh Dragons left with their tails between their legs after another 40-plus point battering. And they're suffering, the Welsh. The Welsh are suffering. Not that I'm averse to suffering Welshmen.
No.
Although, as I mentioned...
As long as it's on the pitch.
Indeed. But as I've said, I grew up in the 70s when Welsh rugby was at its height. And as I say, my favourite player, and he's a lovely man, and for me, he's the best rugby player of all time, is Gareth Edwards. Gareth Edwards by all. Indeed. But anyway, these London Welshmen, they're run by a contemporary of Gareth, a lovely man called John Taylor, who was a flanker in the flanker. Can I say that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
say flanker. Yeah.
You can say big flanker.
Big flanker. Yeah. Okay. John was a flanker in the 1971 Lions side, which was the first British Lions side to win a series in New Zealand under the legendary Carwyn James. And as you can tell from that flavour of Welshness, you know, most of those players in that legendary British Lions side were Welsh. Barry John, Gareth Edwards, Gerald Davis, John Dawes, who was the captain, John Taylor, as I mentioned, Delmy Thomas, Derek Quinnell, whose son Scott Quinnell went on to be a star in rugby league and rugby union.
I thought the name ringed a bell.
Yeah, well, Scott Quinnell actually is doing a series at the moment based at Moseley Rugby Club called The School of Hard Knocks, which is getting some real good publicity for Moseley, my club. The School of Hard Knocks, he's doing it with Will Greenwood, who was the England centre in the 2003 World Cup winning side, and they make a great pair. And basically what they do, they take people who are a bit down on their luck, you know, drug issues, crime, and they take them and they introduce them to rugby union.
Oh, good.
And you know, it's like almost like, you know, years ago when you had a boxing club in a particular area of the city, which might be a bit down at hill. You know, I mean, you were a boxer, weren't you, Chris?
Yeah,
you weren't a Scotty, were you, or a collie? You were a boxer.
No, a boxer definitely.
You were a boxer with the snuffled nose,
still
waggling tail as well. Sorry, I digress. I'm not being very nice to you tonight.
That's all right. I'm used to it.
You were a boxer, though, weren't you? Yeah. But you know, like as in days of yore, when boxing clubs in certain areas, like Nechel's ABC and Aston Boxing Club, and all those places, you know, Whitton ABC, they really moulded young men who had, you know, might have issues, you know, aggression issues, or not have a very good home life, or be out of work, into fine young individuals. They gave them a purpose in life. They gave them discipline. And this is what the School of Hard Knocks has been aiming to do through rugby union. And it's based, I think it's on Channel 4 actually, because I'm not sure exactly when it's on in the schedules, but I gather Prince Harry's been down there as well. So Moseley Rugby Club had a royal visitor. Prince Harry was down there. And it's gone a bit under the radar in Birmingham, because of course Moseley aren't on everybody's lips, you know. Unlike Birmingham City and Villa, you know, and West Bromwich Albion. well done to the Albion yesterday, winning 4-0
nice one,
against
4-0.
Burnley, another claret and blue side. But the School of Hard Knocks at Moseley Rugby Club at Billesley Common. Give it a watch if you can find it in the schedules on Channel 4, and watch Scott Quinnell and Will Greenwood mould these difficult, shall we say, challenging young men into fine rugby players. And they have also been playing rugby. They've introduced them to rugby, as I say, and they've been playing for the junior side at Moseley, the Moseley Oak side, which plays in did play in the same league as my club, the Dixonians, played in.
Yeah.
Anyway, enough of the School of Hard Knocks, and fair play to Moseley for getting involved in that and getting a bit of good publicity. They seem to be moving in the right direction, both on the field and off the field. And I was saying that they did come unstuck against the Pirates this yesterday, Chris. Pirates, the Cornish Pirates. Ha, Jim lad. Yes, they came unstuck there. It's a long trip down to Penzance, isn't
I
it?
can imagine.
Long trip down to Penzance.
Oh, it is long. It is long.
Especially if you've got to batter your head against a few tough T-card Cornishmen.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes, sir. Who've been living on a diet of Cornish pasties and dairy ice cream for the last 10 weeks, waiting for these Moseley guys to get down there and give them a good scene too.
Pardon? Oh, right, yeah.
On the rugby field, that was Chris.
Yeah.
Good scene too on the rugby field, which they did. Moseley came away with their tails between their legs again, sorry, like the Welsh. Lost 21-19. And really, it was a game they should have won, really, because Cornish Pirates hadn't won a game this season so far. So I think, frankly, from early indications, I think Moseley might have another season of struggle after last season's relative highlights of finishing 7th in the championship. And they've only won one game so far, and they've drawn one. So out of four or five. I'm not sure exactly how many. But Moseley is struggling a bit. Worcester had a good result. Those Wussy boys, who I love to bait, and
we don't like them, do we?
We don't like those Wussy boys.
So I've gone back to the Pirates.
Yeah, sorry, it's that West Country burr of mine. West Country burr. Worcester beat. I think it was Rotherham 53 points to 19. So. Worcester on the way back. Bristol are the team to beat in the championship, though. They had another 40-point victory on Saturday, so fair play to them. They pinched a couple of Moseley's players from last season. Ollie Robinson, the director of rugby at Bristol, the ex-England coach. What's his name? It'll come to me. The ex-England Scotland coach and the England rugby forwards coach in the 2003 World Cup. Robinson. Sorry, I forgot. Senior moment. I apologise. We're getting old.
It comes to us all.
Andy Robinson. It's come to me. Did come to me. Andy Robinson. Yes, the director of rugby at Bristol. So sorry about that. Anyway, yes, we're getting old in the studio here. Anyway, downtown Solihull. Just a bit of a digression here, Chris. I found out from a Green Party colleague, because I told you about my political career last week, didn't I? We're standing for the Green Party in Sandwell, in Bristol Ward last.
So you're a fully paid up member?
I'm a fully paid up member of the Green Party. I attended their conference not a month ago at Aston University. It was in Birmingham, actually. Okay. Green Party conference. They don't get as much publicity as UKIP.
No.
There's UKIP. UKIP, I mean, fair play to them. They know how to push everybody's buttons, you know. Nigel Farage. It's Farage, not Garage. Farage. He's a Farrago of Farage. No, I call him Nigel Farage.
Yeah.
Because that's the Brummie pronunciation of that word, of course.
Farage
and Garage. And Bath and Bath.
Yeah,
Bath.
B-A-F.
Double F. Anyway, my Green Party career. Hello, GA. And welcome to GA. It's the first time I've seen him this season. Welcome to you, GA.
Take a seat. Take a pew. We were just talking about Garage, and
Farrago of Lies.
Barrage.
Yes, I've been a fully paid up member of the Green Party for about a year now, and as I say, I stood in I stood in the council elections in Sandwell last May, and acquitted myself well. I didn't finish last. I beat the Liberal Democrats into last place. What I want to say, though, Chris, I found out that Solihull is a green oasis of green councillors.
Is it?
Did you know that?
compared to...
there are 10 green councillors on Solihull Council.
Right, okay.
Bet you didn't know that,
No, I
did you?
didn't.
Are they like green bottles?
Like 10 green bottles, yeah, indeed. GA, that's a very good point. Could be 10 green bottles. But there are 2 in Chelmsley Wood, which you wouldn't think would be fertile territory for the Green Party, would you? Because it's full of concrete.
There's quite a bit of green over that way, though, isn't there?
In Chelmsley Wood?
Yeah,
Well,
the back of-
yeah.
Smith's Wood
But
and-
enough of the politics. So let's go
It's not
back
like
to the
us to
rugby.
digress, is it?
Not like us to. Well, not like me to be off the point at all, is it really, Chris? But as I say, about the Welsh again, in most of the games they've been competitive until the final quarter, where their lack of fitness and conditioning has been exposed, with the other fitter teams in the Premiership scoring freely in that final quarter. As I say, after 60 minutes on Friday night, Gloucester and London Welsh were equally matched, but then once again it happened to the Welsh. They were outgunned in the final quarter and lost heavily with Gloucester scoring over 40 points. Now, already this season, you can tell who the 2 relegation haunted sides are going to be, because Newcastle Falcons lost again on Saturday to Wasps, and they've now not won in over 20 Premiership games going back to last season. So that relegation spot, as I say, which could be the spot in the Premiership, which could Newcastle and London Welsh will be fighting over keeping, could go to probably Bristol, as I say, or possibly Worcester if they get their act together. But I think Bristol will be favourites, and that'd be great for me as a devotee of West Country rugby. Oh, war. But war.
I've often wondered, what does Scottish pirates sound like? War. The same, or what?
I don't know actually.
Never hear that, do you?
Jock McTaggart, the Scottish pirate.
Yeah.
Billy Connolly looks like a bit of a pirate.
He does,
with that goatee beard.
But even the
Long
American
hair.
pirates speak in a Cornish accent. So what's going on there? Anyway, digressing again.
You're digressing again, sorry. Yes, so it looks as though Newcastle Falcons and London Welsh will be contesting that last relegation slot in the Premier League. Now, the next game I wanted to go on to was a bit of an upset, really, Chris. Leicester Tigers 19, London Irish. Whoa. That was an Irish pirate.
That was terrible.
That was terrible, yeah.
Oh, Arby Jesus.
Oh, Arby Jesus, the Irish pirates are here. London, we'd get done for racism, wouldn't we, Chris?
No, yes.
We've had a go at the Cornish, Gloucester people who said they're inbred, the Welsh.
Oh, no, yeah.
This is not a PC show, is it really?
No.
Not
If you're on PC, don't listen to this.
No, don't listen to this. Well, do listen to this.
Yeah, I mean, do listen to this,
this.
yes.
We don't want people not to listen, of course. So, anyway, Welford Road was the Tigers' last lair, which used to be a fortress for them. The Tigers has only lost 7 home games at Welford Road since the beginning of the 2011 season. Most of those losses occurring in the Heineken Cup in the European competition. For them to lose to the London Irish, who've struggled in the bottom half of the table for the last 5 or so seasons, was a tremendous shock to me. Irish had not won at Welford Road for 10 successive seasons. On Saturday, ex-England fly-half Shane Geraghty kicked his goals to beat the Tigers at home, with the Tigers fly-half from Gloucester, new fly-half from Gloucester, struggling with his goal-kicking, Freddie Burns, which is symptomatic of this whole Tigers team. With 20 first-choice players out through injury, Leicester are now a crisis club, it seems, after shipping 45 points last Saturday to a resurgent Bath.
Yeah, Bath.
At the Wreck.
Double F.
At the Wreck, yes. So, we're just going to take a bit of time to look at Leicester now. And as I say, they've got 20 first-choice players out.
I was going to say, aren't they one of the top?
They are.
One of the top,
For the last 15,
Are they not the Man United
20,
of?
absolutely, Chris, you're right. You've obviously been paying attention to what I've been saying over the while.
Of course, yeah.
I
I do listen to it sometimes.
some of it, when we're not digressing onto other things like Green Party and other stuff, Pirates. But no, Leicester are the Manchester United of the Aviva Premiership, and to see them losing 2 games on the trot, 45-0, and with them being nilled, which we mentioned was a new word last week. Nilled. They were nilled by Bath last Saturday. But what's going on at Leicester? As I say, without. Yes, we all have injuries. Rugby is you have to have big squads to do well at rugby, and when people are injured, they have to have good replacements. But to have 20 injured players is a bit of 2 would be unlucky, but 20 seems a bit. There must be a symptomatic of some sort of crisis there. for them to lose to the Irish last Saturday. So where did Leicester go from here? For a start, with such a large injury list, they might wish to change their training methods. Traditionally, since the days of the arch enforcer and World Cup winning captain Martin Johnson, Jono to his pals, not that he had many pals because he was such an aggressive man. Incidentally, did you know Jono, Martin Johnson, was born in Solihull?
I did, yes.
Did you? Have you read his autobiography then?
I haven't, no.
I think you told us, actually.
Oh, I'm repeating myself now, am I? I'm repeating
So we do
myself. Yes, you do listen. Well, anyway, he's a Silhillian, he's Jono, so... Yeah, since the days of Jono, and before that even, with Neil Back, the ex-Barker's Butt. It's a good name for a rugby club, isn't it? Barker's Butts. That's the true name. Coventry Rugby Club, Barker's Butts. Where Neil Back came from, Danny Grewcock. They bred about 5 or 6 England internationals. I think the Cockers. Can I say that?
Cockers, Barker's Butts.
Cockers, Barker's Butts.
Yeah.
Cockers, Richard Cockerell, the Leicester director of rugby, I have a feeling he came from Barker's Butts. Certainly if he didn't, he might come from Newbold Rugby Club. But Barker's Butts are a well-known Coventry-based rugby club who provided 5 or 6 top-class England internationals, usually forwards. And since those days of Neil Back, Martin Johnson, Clive Woodward, possibly even in those days when Woodward was playing in the 70s, Leicester have been fierce during their use with their training methods, with a dog-eat-dog mentality, with a top dog in a physical confrontation in training, winning that shirt on a Saturday. So really, that intensity and that dog-eat-dog attitude is obviously coming home to roost because they've got that many injuries with people knocking lumps out of each other in training that they can't even field a decent side on a Saturday. So perhaps that has to be looked at by the Tigers, to perhaps calm down with their training methods a little, be a bit more smart in the way they train, not look to knock lumps out of one another. And in the days of Martin Johnson, this often led to punch-ups during training, and led to the Tigers' long injury list. With the intensity and physicality of the Aviva Premiership increasing year by year, especially in the last 10 years since the days of Jono, Neil Back and Austin Healey. That's a good name for a rugby player, isn't it? Austin Healey.
Fantastic. I think it's one of the best names ever.
You reckon?
I reckon so, yeah.
He's a jumped up little so-and-so, though, Austin.
I can imagine he is, yeah.
To be fair to him, though, he's a very, very competitive man. He won Superstars, I
remember,
He won it a couple of times. He's a little ball of muscle. He was quite unlucky, actually. He won 50 caps. And he was around at the time of the England World Cup victory in 2003. But he didn't make the squad, sadly, for Austin. Which I think has always rankled with Austin somewhat. I mean, I must admit, he does some of the BT Sport commentary, and he is a bit Leicester-centric, in my opinion, a bit biased towards Leicester, along with his mate, the England second row, whose name escapes me again, who dropped the pass in the final against Australia when the line was gaping.
It's
but
definitely
never
catching
mind.
up, isn't it, Chris? Definitely catching up.
I've got to be back in the home by 10 o'clock, Chris.
Yeah.
They're coming to fetch me later.
You don't have to convince me, I believe you.
It's my memories going. My memories going.
I know, Jim.
I know. Jim? Who's Jim?
Sorry.
Oh, them Pirates again. Sorry, anyway. So, back to the Tigers. Whirr. Oof. Oh, sorry. No. I'm good. I think I'm going mad.
No, you don't. I don't think. I know.
So, perhaps Leicester need to look at their training methods a bit more closely. With a closer management of training, less confrontation for confrontation's sake. Leicester were a well-run club, are still a very well-run club, and have been since the 1970s, when rugby union really started to take off as a spectator sport and as a TV sport. I mean, I remember the days of Nigel Starmer-Smith, that well-known Cambridge Blue or Oxford Blue with the cut-glass tones and the double-barrelled moniker.
Yeah.
Monica? Double-barrel Monica? Is that woman with big...
I know Monica.
Monica with the big double barrels?
Yeah.
No, sorry. Anyway, I digress again. Yes, Nigel Starmer-Smith, that double-barrelled epitome of Englishness, who used to commentate on Rugby Special for the BBC, which is when rugby, for me, became alive, and when it was in the days of black and white, of course, though, Chris. And and they actually Bristol and other teams had letters on their shirts. Would you believe, rather than numbers? Can you believe that?
No.
It's never happened in football, has it? Football teams have never had letters on. I think it must be in the rules, mustn't it? The laws of the game that you've got to have numbers on your shirts, is it? I mean, it hasn't been in rugby because, as I say, up until about the mid-70s, Leicester had letters on the back of their shirts. What's that all about? Like a big game of Scrabble.
Players do the same
thing. It wasn't GK. It was just A, B, C, D up to 15.
Yeah.
And number 1 was A, number 2 was B, and so on. But it wasn't G, because my daughter used to play netball. Shout out to Sarah. Up at 7 o'clock this morning for a gym session for conditioning. Doing well. Voted Woman of the Match in Saturday's game.
Stuff. Oh, well done.
Sadly, they lost 4-0 to Swansea Hockey Club. But well done to Sarah, Cardiff Metropolitan University Hockey First 15. Woman of the Match on Saturday in your 4-0 defeat to Swansea. But keep it up, darling. I love you. Anyway, enough of that. Yeah, so Leicester have always been a well-run club, and so even with the letters on the back of their shirts, and going back to the 70s, Moseley, Leicester, and Northampton were the 3 top clubs in the Midlands. Moseley and Coventry were the West Midland clubs. I mean, Coventry have fallen away even more than Moseley. You know, Moseley at least still in the second tier of rugby.
Yeah.
Coventry in the third tier, and Coventry was always a rugby city, and after Jimmy Hill turned Coventry City into a successful football club in the 60s and 70s, with them culminating winning the FA Cup in beating Tottenham in '87 with Keith Houchin's goal. Remember that? But Moseley and Coventry were the West Midland sides, and Leicester and Northampton were the East Midland sides. And Moseley, Leicester, Coventry, and Northampton were amongst the top 10 rugby clubs in the land, and this will surprise local rugby fans that Moseley even had more paying members than Leicester in those days.
Really?
And they were, Moseley would regularly get 5,000 down at the Readings watching games, and of course Leicester always have their base at Welford Road. But that surprises a lot of people when you say that Moseley, who have fallen on hard times somewhat nowadays, whereas the Tigers have surged ahead in the 1980s and 1990s. And this current Tigers crisis is, I feel, a bit of a blip. And such a great club as Leicester will not be down for long when they get their top players like England hooker Tom Youngs, who did not tour New Zealand with England this summer because he stayed at home to look after his wife, his sick wife. Imagine that. Mm. Imagine a footballer not playing England international because he was looking after his wife. Wouldn't that, was it?
No.
They have people to look after them.
That's right, they do.
Nurses.
Yeah, I mean,
but
they're superstars now, but they're all millionaires, aren't they?
Oh, of course. Rugby players, and I don't think, with the exception possibly of, I can't think of any actual millionaires playing rugby or associated with the game of rugby. Yes, a lot of the backers of the clubs are millionaires, but certainly the most Premiership footballers are at least half millionaires, I would imagine. At most top clubs, they're millionaires, if not, they're almost. But no, Tom Youngs had to stay at home in the summer to look after his sick wife. Mm-hmm. So that shows, rugby still has that link with its fans, and they did give him time off, and hopefully she's making a good recovery now. But of course, Tom he's had a shoulder operation, which means that Youngs will miss England's autumn internationals when they play the 3 Southern Hemisphere Southern Hemisphere. That's hard to say when you've had a long day at work. I've been manager at work today, Chris.
Oh, right, okay.
I've been the manager. I've been acting up.
So you're promoted just for one day?
No, for the whole week.
Oh, right,
I've been acting up. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
I'm always acting up.
Yeah.
Acting up as manager. This is then. Isn't that good? Thank you to all my team who looked after me today. They were very gentle with me, and they were a delight to manage. Sorry.
Just going back to the money in the game. Ollie's just said that he bets Johnny Wilkinson was on a fair bit of money.
I think, from memory, his contract when he was at Toulon was somewhere in the region of the figure 800,000. That's it. When he signed his contract, a 3-year contract, the contract for the whole 3 years was for £800,000,
right?
Which then was the highest paying contract in rugby union.
Right.
So what would that be? 250 grand a year? I mean, actually, thinking about it, I don't know whether Johnny Wilkinson's a millionaire, actually.
He's got to be.
You think so? Well, he has written books, and but, you know, rugby players don't make a lot of money at their game. And as you know...
I mean...
Well,
yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was sad to hear in the summer of the demise of the Birmingham Brummies. Which,
talked about that. You don't want to see a grown man cry.
Oh, well. I mean,
next season.
Well, hopefully you'll be coming back lower down the hierarchy and coming from strength to strength, let's hope. So, yeah, good luck to the Brummies next season. And I like to see all sports teams do well in Birmingham. As you know, I'm a great Brummie.
Especially those that carry the name of this great city.
Well, Birmingham City accepted.
Of course, yeah.
You agree with me?
I agreed with you. I heard that.
Can we quote you on that one, Chris?
We've got it.
Got it. We've got him by the short and curves.
Robot fashion.
Robot fashion, yeah. I have that effect on people. Yes, so England are playing New Zealand, Australia and South Africa in 3 consecutive weeks in the Autumn Internationals, with Fiji up first. This Tigers catalogue of injuries shows the physicality and intensity of rugby at the elite level, and careers will inevitably get shorter as injuries take their toll. I'm sure Leicester will once again be top dogs in the Aviva Premiership before too long. So good luck to you, Leicester Tigers. Let's hope a leopard never changes its spots. That's a bit of a mixed metaphor there, wasn't it?
Isn't it?
It was a bit pretty. And while we're talking about Tigers' struggles, let's look at the England fly-half battle. With the current incumbent, Owen Farrell, out injured, who would play at fly-half for England if the Autumn Internationals were to take place next weekend? For me, it has to be the young pretender, not Bonnie Chinchilla. Bonnie Chinchilla. Is that like a chinchilla?
That's the Chinese.
I'm sure he's
I've been drinking it
before he comes in.
Too much coffee, I think, Chris. Too much coffee. No, but the young pretender, not Bonnie Prince Charlie, not Bonnie Prince Chinchilla, Bonnie Prince Charlie, George Ford, not George Dawes, George Ford,
yeah.
George Ford of Bath. In the last 2 weeks, Ford has taken on and dismissed 2 of his young rugby Prince of Fly-halves rivals in Freddie Burns of Leicester, who we've already catalogued their big struggles to get back amongst the elite with their. But Freddie's malaise has been. His game has been affected by the malaise at Leicester, and he hasn't played very well over the last few weeks. So Freddie Burns. So George Ford ranked 1 for me, and then Danny Cipriani, who we've already mentioned a number of times on this show, who I think is the most talented fly-half in England, but needs to get his head together, which he shows great signs of doing. So if we have the rankings, obviously George Ford first, Danny Cipriani second, then Freddie Burns, and then another guy who has been off the radar a bit because he's an ex-rugby league player, Stephen Myler of Northampton Saints, who, as I say, came from rugby league a number of years ago now. And but for me, I still think that Stuart Lancaster, providing he's fit and raring to go, will pick Owen Farrell as the England fly-half for the Autumn Internationals. Unless Farrell cannot recover from injury, then I think he may go for Danny Cipriani, because George Ford didn't tour New Zealand last summer, out having a shoulder operation. And, you know, this is the problem. George Ford is only 21, 22, and already he's having shoulder operations. It shows the intensity of the game at the elite level, as I already mentioned today. You know, so good luck to all. I think for me, if we wanted to play a running game and run the All Blacks, who are obviously going to be our biggest rivals, and just a quick shout out here for the All Blacks, who, as I say, are the best rugby nation in the world, bar none, in my opinion. They've been playing some fantastic rugby in the Rugby Championship, which is what their equivalent of the Six Nations, and they've got a game coming up this Saturday against South Africa. They've already won the Rugby Championship, the New Zealanders, and they've been playing some fantastic rugby. And the only game they've lost in the last 3 years since the Rugby World Cup win in 2011 was to England a couple of seasons ago, just before Christmas, when we put 30 points on them. So, I think this World Cup coming up next year in England is boiling down. Well, it could well boil down to an England-New Zealand final, with England having the home crowd behind them and New Zealand playing the better rugby. But as I say, New Zealand have a habit of peaking too early and bottling it in the big game if they were to get there again. Because you're going to have 70,000 screaming Englishmen and about 10,000 squawking Kiwis. Squawking Kiwis? Can you have squawking Kiwis?
I don't even know the name. The
noise a Kiwi makes, indeed.
I'm just making them.
Just making that up. Yeah, so back to the rugby again. Talking about squawking Kiwis. So, Exeter Chiefs have made great progress after being promoted to the Aviva Premiership 4 seasons ago. And their little ground at Sandy Park above the motorway at Junction 30, the M5, is a fantastic place to go and watch rugby. On Saturday, they dismissed the challenge of an injury hit.
So you can't even read your own writing.
I can't read my own writing.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to get you some bifocals.
Sorry. I know I can't read it because it doesn't. I've got some bifocals, Chris. Injury hit Harlequin side. There we go, Harlequin side. Who, without their talisman and playmaker, Nick Evans, another New Zealander, and another New Zealand fly half, really. Chiefs scored 39 points against lacklustre Quinn side, whose director of rugby, Conor O'Shea, had some harsh words for his charges after the game, branding the display as unacceptable.
Oh,
is that
so that's the noise of the Kiwi.
Is that the noise of the Kiwi? Thank you for that, Gio.
You know what? I wasn't that far off, was I?
You were close. You must have heard it before, Chris. Have you been to New Zealand with the Hobbits?
No, I'd like to go one day, actually.
I'd love to go to New Zealand. Fantastic place.
Yeah, my mother-in-law went. She said it was like how England used to be in the 50s.
I've heard that said, actually. They call it the land of the long white cloud, don't they?
Do they?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, Gio, for that.
It's a massive, big cloud that carries a third of the water of all rivers.
Right.
There you go.
Thank you very much. You've obviously been looking up your New Zealand facts.
He's a font of knowledge.
A font. He's a real font, isn't he?
He's
an absolute font.
I saw from watching QI, that is, I'm afraid.
The new series of QI starting on Friday night, which I'm going to be glued to, like the proverbial. As I say, in other rugby, as we're coming to the end of the show now, in other rugby, Worcester finally clicked into gear, beating their opponents by 50 points. And Moseley, as I said, returned pointless from that long trip to Penzance and the Cornish Pirates. Elsewhere in the Championship, Bristol scored another convincing win by over 40 points. And Jersey lost at home. Bet you didn't even know Jersey got a rugby club, did you, Chris?
No, you did mention it a little bit.
I have mentioned it in the past. I am repeating myself. This show, it's déjà vu, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
Déjà vu. Anyway, just to round up then, before we say good night for the evening, on Saturday at Franklin's Gardens, home of the Aviva Premiership champions, Northampton Saints, another club, as I said, Moseley on a par with in the 1970s, they welcome Bath and George Foyd. George Foyd? He sounds like an American president, doesn't he? George Foyd. To the Gardens. In the early season, clashed the top two in the Aviva Premiership. In a titanic encounter, Northampton skimmed into an early 3-try lead, only to be pegged back by two forward-oriented tries from Bath, whose little prince George Ford, not George Dawes, pulled all the strings against another England hopeful ex-rugby league man, Stephen Myler. And we've already mentioned the fly half factory in England, and who will come out on top. Anyway, I'm getting the wind up from Chris. So as the nights are drawing in, we will say our good nights. And I've really enjoyed talking to you tonight about rugby union in all its facets, the Pirates, my Green Party political career, and all points west. So here we go. Thank you very much for listening. Good night from Keith Bracey in the clubhouse.